Welcome, everyone, to Bond on Cinema. And my guest today is the extraordinary restaurateur Lisa Dahl, who leads an empire of exquisite restaurants in beautiful Sedona, Arizona, destinations that are ranked among the best dining experiences in the world. Now, a self taught chef, Lisa began her culinary journey in Sedona following the tragic loss of her beloved son, Justin. Now, through food, she discovered healing, and now she inspires countless others who have faced hardship, bringing them comfort, joy, and nourishment one dish at a time. Now, for nearly 30 years, Lisa Dahl has stood among the upper echelon of women chefs and restaurateurs, leading a revolution in organic farm to fork cuisine and proving that dreams truly can come true through grit, innovation, and world class hospitality. Her fine dining flagship, Mariposa Latin Inspired Grill, has garnered global recognition since opening in 2015. Now, her first restaurant, Dahl Di Luca, was ranked seventh in the country by TripAdvisor's Traveler's Choice Awards as one of the best date night restaurants. Today, Dahl Restaurant Group is one of the largest employers in northern Arizona with over 300 team members. And Lisa is also the author of two acclaimed cookbooks, Elixir of Life and A Romance with Food, which together have sold more than 25,000 copies. And this year, her journey took center stage at the premiere of the documentary short film Lisa Dahl, Blessed by Grace, which debuted at the Sedona International Film Festival to a sold out crowd and a standing ovation. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the remarkable Lisa Dahl to the show. Welcome, Lisa.
Oh, Ward, I'm so excited to be with you today. Thank
Well,
you. That was an amazing resume. I didn't even know I had done that many things.
well,
Thank
I think that's the short version.
you're aging me here. It seems like 30 years has gone by in a blink of an eye, if I want to tell you the truth. It's really funny. With the 30th anniversary coming up in December of Dahl Di Luca, so many things just flashed before my eyes that I just, it's like I just want to grab those memories and hold them and never let them go because there's been so many things that I've witnessed, but yet it still seems like I just want to keep doing more and more and feed more people in need and all of those things. So I'm very inspired these days. I'm very blessed to be with you today.
Well, it is great to have you. And I understand that you are a self taught chef. And when I watched your documentary, Blessed by Grace, the food you create is not only mouth watering, it's truly a work of art. So, where did you learn how to cook and develop such an incredible creative vision for your dishes?
I think it's really been an evolution. Needless to say, when I was very young, people didn't cook and present food in that way. But I always had a desire to really want to make very natural and healthful creations. And I think in many ways, as we all say, it's kind of tried at this point, but we do eat with our eyes. So I feel like a plate presentation is really important to stimulate the palate and get you excited. Um, I don't think that I'm the most creative when it comes to plating food, just from the standpoint that I feel like sometimes less is more. I like to keep the food somewhat simple, but always eye appealing, always organic, always the highest sourcing that I can get my hands on, needless to say, and also truly on like beautiful flatware. I believe that the plates that we choose and all of the accoutrement are equally important so that you really frame a dish like a work of art, like a canvas. So I'm always cognizant of balance, and I love teaching. I love training. So when I teach young pizziolas about making pizza, I'm very exacting. They know that I can walk in at any time, and if they've put too much sauce, then I correct them. I'll send a pizza back because they didn't balance all the ingredients. So that when you eat a pizza, do you want to be the one that gets stuck with less of the goodies on yours? It's got to be balanced. And that's the same whether it's a seafood pasta, whether it's even in an empanada. Everything has to have balance. And so I'm a bit of a stickler, and it's a daily mission, I'll say, to inspire people, young people of and people of all ages, to love culinary in the way that I do, because at the end of the day, it's all about the guest experience. And if we don't care for that down to the minute detail, then we're going to become automated. And when that happens, I'm going to be out of here.
Well, where did the idea come from to create the documentary short Blessed by Grace?
But the documentary has turned into something that is just awe-inspiring. But it started as a shorter vignette. We thought that we were going to create a culinary reel, along with, of course, the most important part of it, the backstory about my Justin and his demise, and how that has transpired to what I do today.
So
But
why so
grew.
why
It
was it
grew.
important for you to tell your story and then carry on the legacy and memory of your son Justin?
Well, I've been doing that since I opened my first restaurant. If you were to go into Dahl Di Luca, you would see a beautiful niche and a tribute to my son. Every restaurant has its own niche in a little sacred spot, not meant to make people feel bad and not meant for everyone to see. But if they have an opportunity to catch the dedication to Justin, they feel something more than just a place to eat. So I began that in earnest as a means of knowing that he's always with me. And when I left the Bay Area, of course, Justin had been killed in San Francisco, so he wasn't physically with me in Sedona, where I had come to start my life over. But I felt he was with me, and especially when I gave him a beautiful little altar, and it has little baby pictures and things like that. And people will come through the hallway and they'll see it. And maybe it's only one or two, 10% of the people that stop and linger there. But when that touches hearts, it's something I really, it's sacred to me. So each restaurant has a special little place or mementos. I evolved my menus over the years. And in the beginning, my first menu with Dahl Di Luca was like a photo album of those that I love most that had crossed over. But I wanted to make it clear, especially for others that were suffering loss of their loved ones, they're with us. Don't say they're dead. Who knows if they are not standing right with you, behind your shoulder, with you during that dining experience, during those times that you're really forlorn or you're having a hard time and don't know if you can make it. Connect them with you, and you'll find that they are really there. And I live by that every day. So if I'm doing something I know Justin loves, I feel like he's helping me. And so we love making soup. And when I make soup, I feel like he's so happy. I have a soup that I call sopa di Justino, and it's a delicious. It's like a Mexican spicy chicken and vegetable soup. It's out of this world. But he and I loved making a version of that when we were in Marin County, and so I'm always feeling like he loves that it's named after him. He loves that I tell the story in the book, in my cookbook, A Romance with Food, of the memories and how hard it was for us to create that soup, because we knew we wanted a certain flavor, and we wouldn't settle until we got that savory, rich flavor. I finally figured it out, and we loved it. So I do a lot of dedication to Justin because I know he likes to hear his name from the other side.
Well, how much has the Sedona area become a place of healing for you since your loss?
That's a very huge question. I think that Sedona heals me every day if I allow it. In my work, I have a pretty high activity level, to say the least. And I think the healing many times now comes from the acknowledgement and recognition from other people who are touched by Justin's story. And they come up to me on a daily basis. Uh, every day. I mean, the other day, 6 women came up to me, all mothers, and one had gone through breast cancer and was celebrating a 50th birthday. And all of her friends, her besties, were with her. And all the women had followed me unbeknownst to me, and especially because their best friend had been through so much, and she literally was crying when we met, and all the girls all had their cookbooks lined up for me to personalize and send. It was a keepsake that they will treasure, and it's like it's a gift that just keeps giving, and it keeps me from dwelling on my sadness. um I carry Justin very deep within me, but we're in times right now that the world needs more love. And I feel like I'm really walking through a mission. Sorry, I'm going to get a little verklempt on this one, but I try to follow what my son said prophetically in a poem years before he passed, which is very simple: love is the solution. We reap what we sow. He had a poem that was very prophetic, and the last lines on that, I live by the mantra all the time, which is spreading that love I have for him that will touch other families and other people that are experiencing loss in their life. And our world has it's just kind of changed before our eyes in the last couple of years, and we're all trying to figure out what can we do in our own walk of life to make the world better, to stop this division. And for me, cooking and working with the incredible I don't like to call them employees, my family of employees, my team. It's just quite a big team and lots of young people. So I kind of taken on that. I'm their mother as well, and it's always it just keeps me going in a way that I'm very fortunate, to say the least. It doesn't mean that every day is a bowl of cherries. I do a lot. I do a lot of soul searching, because it's restaurant work is hard work, but you have to exemplify the passion that you have for it through action and through demonstrating that it's you can't just pick and choose what you do in the restaurant world. You have to walk the talk, and that's something that I have to say. It keeps you humble, and there's an addiction. And I think that that's my mission, is to touch hearts through the palate, through the sensory, creating these restaurants that I adore them. They're all personalities. They all have their own individual soul, and they all are on like an ongoing project for me. Some need more work one day than the others. Some of them are more, let's say, further along in their popularity, drawing more guests, but they all come from a place of love. And I think that people can feel it, and they can feel the difference. There's something about it. And so when you talk about the healing in Sedona, there's still a mystique that even I, after now 30 years, don't understand, but I don't take it for granted. I believe that if we are aligned with what this is all about here in Sedona, the magic of Sedona. There's an energy that you can't scientifically prove anything, but yet it will support you if you're aligned with it. And if you come here in a way to exploit it or to just try to pull something over on that energy, it bounces you out. And I've been told that since the day I got here, like I didn't understand it. But I guess I've somehow passed the curve of the growth curve because now nearly 30 years. And we just seem to be on a mission of really sending ourselves into a realm where you can truly taste the love in the food. It's not just a business to us and never has been to me. It's actually was for me an escape on some levels from the pain and finding uh, the creative parts of me that can just continue to grow and touch others. And I've always said that I believe we all have that. I've been fortunate that those choices were made and I followed that direction and that guidance. But there's so many people that have gone through so many tragic losses that I wish for them to be able to find their creative outlets, whether it's writing a book, whether it's painting a picture, whether it's weaving or anything that will help them connect with nature and with the love that is within us all.
I love that. Now, opening a fine dining restaurant in Sedona must have been a very big risk. I mean, what gave you the courage to take that step?
I don't think that I ever once thought of it as fearful. So don't get me wrong on that. It's not that I don't believe that you should be cautious. I'm cautious every day of my life. In terms of every day, there's a new challenge of something that is going to really have me have to really use every part of my brain to make sure that all the pieces fall into place. But it does start with knowing that you're on the right track. Back in those days, there was not a tremendous amount of fine dining restaurants. And coming from the Bay Area, the bar was pretty high in those days. I am not Italian, contrary to what many people might think, but I have an Italian soul somewhat. I loved cooking Italian. And when I lived in the Bay Area, being especially in Marin County with all the wonderful organic produce and more of a natural style of Italian, I basically felt and I wasn't a professional chef at that point, of course, but when I got in the kitchen, I took the same foundations that I had always done in a home environment, and especially that I loved to cater back in those days. Friends would have me doing their parties and things like that. Um, and and I got to bring in the forces of design and decor and cooking with a soulful approach. I had a partner at that time that was Italian. We were had been together for only about a year, and we were two personalities. But mind you, I want you to know that I didn't move to Sedona to open the restaurant. That was guided. I didn't make that happen. I was still in my fashion business, traveling back and forth. I still had to figure out how to pay the mortgage. Was fortunate to be able to buy a small home. And from there, I got very discontent with going back and forth, trying to do my other job. It became very mundane. And so at one point, about a year after, a woman, very benevolent, came to me. She was, I would hate to say failing, but she was not doing well with her restaurant. And she offered me the space. And from that point on, we got into the kitchen. We started meeting people, got cooking, people started talking, and the word got out. And Dahl Di Luca became like a hub of hipness. And I brought in my musicians. I met a lot of musicians, which I've always loved music more than you could imagine. And I love musicians. And I started working with artists. And my first canvas was a lot different than what it looks like today. But this is an old Sonic burger, and it had changed, been transformed into what they call the Sedona Bar and Grill. And then we turned it into our Italian restaurant. There was an Italian restaurant right next door. Well, we didn't mean to compete, but they had been there for many years. And we just started doing our thing, and people started talking and having events and such. And not meaning to drive them out of business. It wasn't my fault by any means, but we became kind of the beginning of a fine dining uh, era that, over many years now, Sedona has become really, really established in lots of cuisine, lots of great restaurants. But to be fair, we started that trend, and eventually I was able to buy out my partner. I won't go into that part of the story, but it was meant to be. And then I had the freedom to create my other restaurants. And that's part of a process. I think it was truly like a rebirth. To be honest, there's nothing better than having a baby. But I was past having baby age, and being able to create restaurants from spaces either pre-existing or as a build out is something that I adore. I mean, I just love letting the vision evolve and finding the artists that can help me carry that vision to fruition. And each one of those restaurants, from Dahl Di Luca, then around 10 years later, Cucina Rustica, which to this day is one of the most gorgeous masterpiece restaurants. People come in and they think that they've gone to another world because it's an amazing restaurant. We have all old, beautiful vintage doors and windows and columns and gates, but it's not in any way hokey. It's the real deal. So I feel like the soul of all of those antique pieces that have come from around the world are part of what creates this feeling that you've gone, you've traveled to another place, and that's up to your imagination what it brings out in you. But some people think they're in Italy, some people think old Spain, but it's a magical restaurant. And then it was quite a few years later that I was offered a space, which is an old Pizza Hut, and I turned it into my first wood fire pizzeria, which I just always wanted to make pizza. Again, being from the Bay Area for quite a period of time, wood fire pizza was the rage, but it's an art, and I don't take it lightly. We work on the pizza every day, always working with the sensitivity of the dough, all of the factors that come into having world class wood fired pizza. But Pizza Lisa has become just a force unto itself. It's very popular. That's my original. And now I have a second one out here in my location in the village of Oak Creek. And each restaurant, there's a story. There's times when I thought I would fail. And by the grace of my angel, and I've somehow, with the support I've had of my my family of employees and my corporate structure, we've made it through some very challenging times. Needless to say, we all could have lost it during the pandemic. It was epic. And even now we're still, always keeping an eye out for, oh my gosh, what could happen next, but we don't live in that fear. We live in our purpose, knowing that we bring so much joy and satisfaction and comfort to others. But this is not a business for the light-hearted or the lightweight. It's, you've got to know that there's always going to be challenges, and you have to have a great team and network of people. And here we are, nearly 30 years strong, and we're
So
hanging.
are well, let me ask you, Lisa, are all the foods, the ingredients for all the restaurants, are they locally sourced?
When we say locally, they're not all grown right here in Sedona. We are at a higher elevation, not real high, but we're at an elevation that is not as it sustainable for year-round growth. So we have a very incredible organic farm that I've worked with now for probably 20 years, and we go down twice a week to the Peoria area, the west part of Phoenix. So it's still local. It's under 110 miles. And we go down 2 times, bring back all of our produce, unload it to each restaurant. And our produce is superlative. It's something I'm so proud of. You have no idea. I do work very carefully and closely is the word with the master grower and his son, which were in our film, Bob McClendon and his son Sean. And they know I'm very particular. Every day, I sometimes will send a text and show them something. I mean, you're dealing with nature, but you can still have irregularities, let's say, and they use no pesticides or anything like that, which is why we work with them. But I will let them know if something is not as it should be, and they will credit back every case of kale, if there is some, romaine, all the things that I purchase. I would say 90% comes from the McLennan farms. And in the winter, the citrus that comes out of Arizona, all of that fruit is outstanding. And it, of course, has a long um, staying time frame. So we'll get a long run with the Arizona citrus, the blood oranges, the pink grapefruits, the lemons, the limes, all the things that we really we rely on so much citrus for I'm a self-proclaimed lemon lover. Lemon is probably one of my favorite seasonings to use, and I use it so abundantly. But we're very fortunate, and I remember a few years ago there was a E. coli outbreak on the romaine and there's also been, like with green onions, as we know. And a few people were like scorning me. How could I serve the romaine or the green onions in this time? I said, I don't even have to worry about it. I know exactly where the water source is for the irrigation of the produce that we buy, and life will go on here. We're very fortunate. We're not buying commercially from some place that we don't know the source, and that gives me and my guest a very great assurance.
Wow. Well, tell me, yeah, because I know that when I watched the documentary and and saw the farm where you source a lot of your
Yeah.
food, so I know that you care about all of the ingredients. Well, tell me about Project Soup Hope. What inspired it, and how does it serve the community?
The Project Soup Hope is a branch of my non for profit that we started about a year and a half ago. And I I started to have a vision of a soup that would be a self-sustaining soup that could supply the nutritional needs for people who were impoverished, who were in crisis. A soup that if you could only have one meal a day, that soup would be able to keep you alive and keep you hopeful for the next day. And I, I started with working with some heirloom beans that I actually sourced through my organic grower. They're actually sourced from Idaho, but since I get grains and legumes through my grower, they must be organic. And so I started working with the beans and the legumes. There's over 27 varieties in the soup base itself. Started tweaking the recipe, of course, all the organic vegetables, and then quinoa as a source to give it that complete protein that but in a plant-based soup. And the flavor is unbelievable. It's almost hard for me to believe that when I taste the soup that there's no meat. There's no protein from animal source, and it wasn't necessarily intended that it had to be that way. It just turned out that it was so good without any meats or any other starch, no gluten of any sort, that people were just in love with it. So every time I did a culinary event, such as some of the larger ones that I've attended, I've taken the soup and tested maybe up to 1,000 people at an event with a cup of my soup, and they just are amazed how sustaining it is, how much they love it. So I've started to do donations with it on a local level, but the higher purpose for the soup will be the engineering and co-packing to take it into larger volume of need within my community, but outside of our community. Our hope is to have our first and most important, I would say testing, but our purpose to be with the Native American indigenous people,
That's really
the
cool.
forgotten people. And in the school system, in these impoverished communities, even in Arizona, the need is so great. And I think that we take it for granted. Here we are in their land. I mean, I think about it all the time. We're trespassing on their land, and yet they're suffering. And their needs are so great. I was told not long ago that the percentage of Native Americans that do not have running water or electricity is more than I would have ever even imagined. And that wood for their homes, for their fireplaces, is more critical than anything. And wood is so expensive. And when I started to really think about that, I said, you know what? Let's start the seed there, and let's walk that talk and get the soup to the people, whether the Native American communities, Navajo, Hopi, Apache. We're surrounded in all parts of Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado. It goes on and on throughout the country. But I want to start with Soup Hope for the Native American people. And then as we grow and become more, uh, have our technology to be able to hopefully someday dehydrate the soup and get that same deliciousness, then we can expand to other countries and around the world globally where there's so much poverty. I can hardly even watch uh, when I see the people in Gaza, the people in Ukraine. I mean, it just makes me wish if only we could get our soup to them. But we have to start small, and we have to bring awareness, and we have to raise money, of course, because we can't do it on our own. We just can't. So we need to follow the steps. My goal is to get my soup, Hope, as well as other soups that I'm known for, into a retail where people can read our story, know our purpose and our cause, and want to buy the soup, and will buy the soups over and over, my sauces, my wonderful products that are made with love, and then we can grow into our own non-for-profit similar to our hero, Paul Newman, who started that entire mentality of purchasing a qualitative product and know that you're giving it to the best of causes.
Yeah, this is just what I mean, it is such an ambitious project, and I wish much success to you with Project Hope Soup. And I know that
Oh,
with this documentary, the audience's reaction to it has been overwhelmingly positive. What has the experience been like for you?
it's been unbelievable. Who would have ever thunk this could happen? It just started with a project born from the love of Justin and the love of my hope to help others have inspiration and hope and get through the hardest of times. And it has touched so many hearts, and the reaction from the audiences, and these wonderful film festivals inviting us in. It's like a rebirth. It really is, and I can't even catch my breath. It's so exciting, but truly, I have to think that somehow Justin is working on this project behind the scenes, and it's going to take on a life of its own. So we're going to Newport Film Festival in a few days, and I couldn't be more thrilled. We're going to be at the Coronado Film Festival, and that's going to be so exciting, tying in with another culinary event. And I have to say, so much thanks to Heartland, letting me come back to where I was born, Indianapolis, and see and meet people, new people that I had not met but still connected with, friends from the past that many I'd not seen for years and years. And it's like the greatest homecoming, more than I could have ever imagined. But I have so much respect for the Heartland Film Festival. And of course, it was all born out of Sedona. And then uh, the director and the team at the Sedona International Film Festival letting us launch our premiere in February with the Sedona International Film Festival was the kickoff. And from there, it's been nothing more than just a miraculous ride. And look at being interviewed by you came from that experience. So I'm just anxious to see where it leads in terms of Soup Hope being able to start to really grow in consciousness and really become part of a brand. My tagline for Soup Hope is the universal soup of love.
I love that. Now, finally, Lisa, what do you hope that the audiences will take away after watching Blessed by Grace?
Hope. If they're going through hard times in their own lives, I hope that their hearts are opened. I hope that they will recognize what we are doing here in Sedona and want to come and visit. And of course, I hope that they will realize that we're trying to really continue our legacy of giving love and helping people that are in need, and support our foundation. To be quite honest, there's many levels. If all that they feel is hungry and excited, and then we also have done some good there. And most people end up leaving the film and saying, "I'm starving. I love that food. I got to get out there and see these people if they don't already know us." But yes, it's inspiration is all that I can ask for.
Well, it's definitely doing that. And ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Dahl, Blessed by Grace, isn't just a documentary about food. It's a story about love, loss, resilience, and the power of community. It reminds us that even through heartbreak, we can become a blessing to others and form deep connections through something universal, food and fellowship. Lisa Dahl is not only an inspiration, but a living reminder that we can overcome anything, that when we draw from a higher power and from the eternal spirit of those we've loved and lost, That spirit lives in all of us, and when we tap into it, there's no limit to what we can create for ourselves and for others. And Lisa, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story, your film, and your heart with us today.
Oh, I'm blessed. Thank you so much, Mr. Bond. It's an honor to be with you and your audience today. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome, and the honor was all mine. And to all of our viewers and as well as listeners, you can catch all of our Bond on Cinema interviews at bondoncinema.com, on YouTube, on Amazon Prime, as well as Spotify, iTunes, Audible, and more, and wherever you enjoy great stories. Well, I'm Ward Bond, and I'll see you either at the movies or from the red carpet.